Right. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Pillar Strength and Movement Prep. We are going to be focusing more on pillar strength today. And pillar strength, if you don't already know, pillar is our shoulders, hips, and torso. And that's how we really, when that is strong, our extremities can then pull from our pillar when our pillar is strong. So we're going to be doing quite a few movements like that. And so we don't need any equipment or anything. We're gonna be on the ground the whole time. We're gonna do a circuit. We're gonna do 3 rounds. We're gonna work for about 45 seconds and then transition for about 15 seconds. And with that, we are gonna be doing, we're gonna do a couple planks. We're gonna do some, lower body movements as well, get the glutes and our core fired up. So we're gonna go ahead, I'll kind of show you what we're gonna be doing today. So we're gonna start off with some plank to pike. So for that, we'll be on our hands and toes and pushing up into our pike position and back down. So we're going to alternate between those two. So that's going to be our first movement, getting the shoulders and the torso ready. And then after that, we're going to do a few quadruped opposites. So this is really going to help us get that core firing up, strengthening our pillar. So we'll extend opposite over opposite leg, keeping that hip pointed down. And then the other side, so we'll alternate between our sides there. And then the next thing we're going to do is plank with an arm raise. So for that, we can either be on the hands and knees here or on our hands and toes, whatever feels better. And we're going to alternate lifting our arm overhead. So this one's really going to help us with our core strength and our shoulder stability as well. And then after that, we're going to be on our back for the last 3 movements here. So the first one is going to be a glute bridge. So we're going to have both our feet planted on the ground, hip width apart, driving through the heels, pushing those hips up towards the ceiling. We're going to hold for 3 seconds and then go back down. So we're pushing up through the ground, keeping that core tight. So while our back is flat, we're just using those glutes and back down. So that's going to be our first glute movement. And then the next one is my favorite for pillar strength. Actually, my next 2 movements are my favorite ones. So the first one is a glute bridge march. So we're going to be in the top of that glute bridge, one knee at a time. We're going to drive the knee up and then back down. So we're going to alternate here. We want to really pretend like we're zipping that core up, bringing each one together and then pulling the leg up with the core and back down. So that one again is really good for the hips and the torso. And then the last thing we're going to do, we're going to do a dead bug hold. So we're going to have our hands above our shoulders and then knees above the hips, pushing the belly button into the ground, holding that core together. And we're just going to hold like that, which looks really easy, but I promise you, the more you engage the core and the pillar, it's going to be harder. So that is the whole circuit that we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and warm up really quick. So we're going to warm up here, starting off with some quadruped rocks. So we're going to be on our hands and knees below those hips, keeping that core tight. We're going to inhale, rock back, and then squeeze those glutes, exhale, and come back up. Just want to inhale down and exhale back up. We're going to do a couple more of these, and then we're just going to open up our hips a little bit more by adding the adductor stretch in here. So we're going to go ahead and do one more. Coming down and back up. All right, so let's go ahead and do a few of those with our adductor stretch. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to have one foot all the way up to the side. We're going to keep that pinky toe on the ground, and we're going to rock back as we inhale and exhale, coming up and rocking back, really opening up those hips. We're not doing too much hips up today. I mean, a couple glute bridges and stuff, but I'm sure we've been kind of sitting during the day, so it's gonna warm those hips up. We're gonna go ahead and do one more wherever we're at. Awesome. And after we finish that last rock back, we can go ahead and do the same thing on the other leg. So taking the other leg out to the side, keep that pinky toe on the ground, and we're gonna go ahead and rock back and forth. So we're gonna inhale, coming back, and exhaling, coming forward. This is going to help us warm up our core as well, because we've got to keep that core engaged to keep everything nice and flat throughout the back. Or open up those hips as well. And let's go ahead and do one more wherever we're at. And after we finish that last one, we can go ahead and bring that knee back up underneath the hip. And then we'll go ahead and do a little bit of down dog here. We're going to stretch out our calves and also opening up our upper back here. So we can go ahead from the hands and knees, tuck the toes, push those hips up towards the ceiling. And I mean, we're going to be doing a little bit of this position here with the Plankton Pike, but we can go ahead and push our head through the arms, open up the upper back. My feet are sliding, but we can open up those calves a little bit. Pedaling each heel into the ground. Again, we're not like we're necessarily doing any thing where we need that ankle mobility. We're not doing any squats or anything, but this can definitely just help after sitting during the day. And we can go ahead and go back onto our hands and knees. And I think we're ready to rock and roll. So we're starting off with the Plankton Pike. Like I said, we're going to do 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest. We're going to go through all those movements 3 times through, and then we'll do a couple stretches at the end to kind of cool down, relax our body so we can have a good night or evening. I guess night, I don't know. It's late for me. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the Plankton Pike. I'm going to get the timer going here in 3, 2, 1, and go. So on the hands and toes, push the hips up towards the ceiling and come back down into the plank. So really keeping that core nice and tight. When we come to the bottom, staying as flat as we can. When we push up, we really want to drive those hands into the ground, using our shoulders. We're also going to feel that core engagement by keeping that pelvis tucked. We can even imagine pushing our belly button to the spine. If we exhale when we come up, that's going to help us really feel that core engagement as well. Great job. Got a few more seconds here. Time for at least 2 more Plankton Pike. 3, 2, 1. All right. Nice job. Next up, we have our quadruped opposite. So being on our hands and knees underneath the hips here. 3, 2, 1. So our core is nice and tight. Our back is flat. We're extending opposite arm, opposite leg, making sure that when we squeeze that glute and we kick our leg out, we're not kicking up. We want to go out. Think long and tall here, because when we start to really raise that leg up, that starts to kick in to our low back. I really want us to work here on using that core, using our pillar to really stay nice and steady. We want our hip bones pointed towards the ground. So if we imagine like we have headlights on our hips, we're blinding the ground the whole time. We can even sink into our hips a little bit more. We don't have to be all the way out here. We can push those hips back a little. 3, 2, 1. All right, that was a little longer than 45 seconds, but that's okay. All right, next up, we're doing our plank with our arm raises. So you can either do hands and knees or hands and toes. 3, 2, 1. So when we're on our hands and toes, we're opposite arm, not even opposite arm, just one arm at a time. If that's really just not happening for you today, you can go ahead and go from those knees, regardless of which one we're doing. Headlights blind the ground. That's what I want us to think, because that's going to help with that core strength. We're planting the opposite hand and then using the muscles to raise above head. So this is going to kind of help us a little bit with our shoulder mobility, because we want to make sure that as we reach up, our back is staying as flat as we can have it. I got a very awkward angle here. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, we have our glute bridge with a 3-second hold. So we're flipping over onto our backs. Our feet are hip width apart. 3, 2, 1. So one thing I really like to remember, or even just remind, say, whatever you want to call it, we need to find a Goldilocks position with our feet. So what I mean by that is if our feet are too far away from our butt, all we're going to feel that is in the hamstrings. If our feet are too close to our butt, we're going to feel that in the quads. So we want to find a good positioning where our heel is directly below the knee, and that's going to give us that engagement through the hips, really working on that glute engagement Keeping that core tight. So I want us to think, bring the butt to the belly button, then drive those heels through the ground. 3, 2, 1. All right, we're staying in this exact position. We're resting, but when I say 3, 2, 1, we're gonna raise those hips up and we're gonna march. So this one is really great for that core. 3, 2, 1. So again, bringing the butt to the belly button, driving through the heels. So when I lift my right knee up, my right glute is engaged because the left glute is engaged because that left heel is being pushed into the ground. We, again, same concept, headlights on our hips, blind to ceiling this time. So that way we keep that core nice and engaged. I also like to think that we are zipping the core up. So if we bring each side of the six pack together, we zip it up. As we are zipping it, that string at the end of the zipper is bringing that knee up. So we're not necessarily using our hips to pull the knee. We're using that core. 3, 2, 1. All right, last movement on our back, and then we're gonna go ahead. We got 2 more rounds to go after this. We have our dead bug hold. We're gonna get those knees above the hips. 3, 2, 1. So knees above the hips. If the knees are too close, it kind of takes away from the core aspect of this. We are working both sides of our core. So we're working our low back muscles. We're working the front of our core. So that's the whole core in general. And then we're also working on not using those hips, our hip flexors. They are slightly activated, but we really do want our core to be holding this position. So the stronger the core is, like I said at the beginning, the stronger our core and our pillar, the more our arms and legs can pull from that. So it's going to help kind of create that here for us. 3, 2, 1. All right. We got 2 more rounds to go. So we're going to flip over onto our hands and our knees. We got Plankton Pike. Getting ready here. 3, 2, 1. Make sure I don't hit my head on anything. Okay. So we're pushing our hips up towards the ceiling, making sure when we're down into that plank, our hips are not dropping below our shoulders and our feet. Let me see if this is going to work better. It's been a while since I've really been teaching in here. All right, there we go. So we're pushing through, keeping one straight line from our shoulders to our hips to our toes. It does help if we exhale as we push up, helping engage the core, but also helping those arms out. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, we have quadruped opposites. So on those hands and knees. And then, as I was saying at the end, we can kind of sink into our hips here. 3, 2, 1. And by doing that, that helps us with stability as we extend out, but it also makes it more similar to what we use our hips for. So if we're about to jump or do a squat or anything, we are loading our hips in that direction. So it does make it a little bit more helpful and a little bit more, it gives it that application to what we're doing. Again, making sure we're going straight out. So I want to think long between the toe and the fingers. 3, 2, 1. All right, next up, plank with our arm raise. So again, if you're on the hands and toes or the hands and knees, whichever one that you choose, hips face the ground the whole time. 3, 2, 1. All right. We're going one arm at a time. I am definitely switching to the knees because my shoulders are just not having it today after I tried that one, but that also is from all the push-ups we did in class earlier today. So always listening to our bodies, doing what we can, but we also want to make sure we can get the most out of the movement. I would definitely be resting more than I would be doing the movement if I was not on those knees today. But keeping that butt bringing that butt to the belly button. So we don't want to be here. We want to bring butt to belly button, keeping that core nice and tight. Great job. 3, 2, 1. All right. We're ready to flip on over onto our backs. We got glute bridges first. We're holding for 3 seconds at the top. Getting ready. 3, 2, 1. So finding that good Goldilocks position for our glutes. Drive the heels into the ground and keeping that core nice and tight. Another thing I like to make sure we all remember is that our feet are hip width apart. Our feet are not super wide. That hurts my hips. And they're also not close together. So again, finding the Goldilocks position for our feet to really get the most out of that with the glute engagement, keeping that core tight. When we exhale, if we exhale like we're blowing into a straw, that'll help. 3, 2, 1. So even if we're just laying here, we exhale like we're blowing through a straw, we're going to feel our ribs come down. We're going to feel that core engage. That's how I want us to engage that core, especially in the dead bugs. But we're going to march first. 3, 2, 1. So heels into the ground, one knee at a time. Driving those knees up. Really keeping that core, breathing through that straw. And it also is helpful to drive the opposite hip into the ground. We do want to try and keep those headlights blinding the ceiling. On this one, not blinding the ground. Great job. We don't have to move super fast through this. Want to make sure we're getting the right connection, the proper intent here. 3, 2, 1. All right. The last one for round 2, and then we got one more round, and then we'll do a couple stretches to cool down. We got our dead bug hold. 3, 2, 1. So bringing that belly button into the ground. When we exhale, breathe through that straw. I find that the more we really just focus on the breath and really engage in that core, and this is round 2, my core is definitely tired right now. So really just keeping everything engaged. Like I said, this is going to help us. The more we strengthen our shoulders, hips, and torso, especially throughout this movement, the better engagement we can get throughout our core and throughout our pillar. And then the better our other movements can be when our arms and legs can pull from our pillar. 3, 2, 1. All right. Last round, coming on up. Starting with our Plankton Pike. We are getting ready. 3, 2, 1. So keeping that core nice tight. Something that I do, I'm noticing this for myself right now. My back is kind of not necessarily rounded, but my shoulder blades are doing something funky today. If we want to kind of help ourselves, if you're feeling it weird in your back, you can always act like you're screwing your hands into the ground, and that will activate our back muscles to then help us keep those shoulder blades nice and flat. Already after doing that, my shoulders and my back feel a little bit better. Sometimes you got to reset a little bit and restart. 3, 2, 1. All right, next up we have our quadruped opposites. So we're getting ready, blind the ground, headlights on those hips. All right, we are getting ready. 3, 2, 1. I know I've said that a lot today about blinding the ground. Trust me, if I had $1 for every time I said that to someone, I would have lots of dollars. It's definitely a cue that I use all the time when coaching my softball girls, just because we do, that rotation aspect of softball is super important. But this is not really rotation, it's more anti-rotation. It will help strengthen our glutes, our core, our low back muscles, all of that. So really thinking going out, we're thinking nice and long from our toes to our fingers. 3, 2, 1. All right, we got planks with the arm reach next. Last time doing these, getting ready here. 3, 2, 1. So either hands and knees or hands and toes, whichever one we're doing. We're staying nice and long through our upper body. And then we are keeping that core tight. Just like with the Plankton Pike, you act like you're screwing your hands into the ground. That one's also really helpful with push-ups. If you struggle with having like your shoulder blades starting to come up, it definitely helps if we kind of just lock those in. That helps kind of keep everything engaged here. Whoops, I'm hitting things all over the place. So strong here. 3, 2, 1. All right, flipping over on our backs. We have glute bridges. Glute bridge marches are dead bug hold, and then we're going to stay on our back to kind of cool down, to stretch a little bit. 3, 2, 1. Getting our foot placing ready. Bring that core together. Drive through the heels. Pushing those hips towards the ceiling. We're holding for at least 3 seconds and back down. Something I like to do too to make sure that I'm keeping those glutes engaged is I keep that pelvis tucked. And when I bring my hips down, I'm not resetting. So nothing in my core or my back is moving, and I'm going straight back up. So I will make it really intense on the glutes, but it also helps train your core and your low back through keeping things in the same position. So definitely helpful. 3, 2, 1. All right, we got marches next, but that's really helpful, especially for something like squats or other movements like that where we need to keep our pelvis the same. 3, 2, 1. So we're gonna march. So you were doing like I was just doing. You might already be feeling this position, and that is okay. Sometimes my personal opinion is when we are doing movements when we're tired, then it makes it easier. Like in real life, if we're tired, we're less likely to injure ourselves. So if our muscles are a little bit fatigued, but we're out for a run and it's, mile 7 and we're tired and we make a wrong move, our muscles are kind of used to being worked in that way. So that's not a bad reason to be a little tired in the muscles. 3, 2, 1. All right, last movement, we're doing dead bugs. So we're gonna hold here, we're getting ready. 3, 2, 1. So we're holding here, focusing on the breath, keeping everything nice and tight. Really just don't think about how tired your core is or how tired your legs are. I know mine are super tired at this point of the day as well. But like I said, it's really teaches us to mentally push through things as well, which in my opinion, it helps us then be able to push through mental barriers in other areas of fitness or in aspects of, our day-to-day. It builds that mental toughness. So we're holding here, focus on that breath. We're almost there, finishing strong. 3, 2, 1. We can go ahead and relax, and we are done with the circuit. So go ahead and grab a sip of water if you need it. And then we're gonna do some figure 4 to stretch things out, because I feel like those last few glute things were a little bit of a lot. So we're gonna go ahead.
Yeah, can I just make one quick point though?
Oh, yes.
I'm about to go run 2 miles. Yeah. So like, can we not do something that's gonna have me like too loose to run? You know what I mean?
Gosh, yeah. Do you want to do some hip flexor hamstring instead?
That'd be nice.
Yeah, let's do that. All right. So we'll do some hip flexor hamstring. So we'll do 3 on each side. So that way you'll get a little bit of a stretch, but you're also getting a nice dynamic warm up. So we'll start off Yeah, we'll keep that core tight, squeeze the glute, gently push those hips forward.
Ooh.
Of course, we're squeezing the glutes after we already did a lot of glute stuff, but you know what? Sometimes we need it. And then we'll go ahead and we'll exhale, rock our hips back, toes to the ceiling, chest towards the knee. Big deep breath. And then we'll go ahead and exhale, coming back forward. So we can also point that toe if that's going to help open up those hips a little bit more. Squeeze that glute, coming forward. And my hips are so tight today. I'm like, oh, it's a little tight there. And we can go ahead and exhale into our hamstring stretch. So rocking those hips back, bringing that chest down. Breathe into that tightness here. We'll do one more breath. And exhale, coming back forward. So we'll do one more on this side. So squeeze that glute, push those hips forward. And then we'll do one more hamstring and then we'll switch sides. So big, deep belly breath. And exhaling, rocking back. Getting hopefully the deepest we can by now that we've done it 2 other times. So hopefully we can get a little bit more of a deeper hamstring stretch. We'll do a nice deep breath. And then we can go ahead and exhale when we're ready and come out of that. And then switching over to the other side. So we'll do the same checklist here. So we're going to tuck the pelvis, squeeze the glute, and push the hips forward. Getting that nice glute squeeze. Again, I know my glutes are tired too, but also this hip is tight. Not normally my tight hip. Don't know what's happened today. And we can go ahead and exhale, push the hips back, bringing that chest towards the knee. Breathe into that tightness. And we can go ahead and on our next exhale, we'll switch back. We'll do 2 more. And again, we can point that toe in the opposite direction, really work on opening up the inside of the hip, keeping that glute squeezed. Nice deep breath. And exhale, rock back, toes to the ceiling. Getting a little closer to the knee with the chest this time. We'll take a nice deep breath. And we're going to exhale into our last one. Squeeze that glute. Push those hips forward. Nice big deep breath. And exhaling back to our last hamstring stretch. Get a nice good stretch here. Big deep breath. And then when we're ready, we can exhale and come out of that. And then hopefully we are nice and feeling good after that stretch and that we had that nice core engagement today. So thank you for coming. Great job. We do have the rest of our classes are up to date for this week. So you'll see me again on Thursday at the same time. But you got Beth tomorrow, and then got our morning and afternoon classes all lined up. So you can check that out on SharePoint. We do have our Summer Shred Slack Challenge happening on Slack at #Exos, so you can join us there. Let me know if you have any questions about anything. Great job, and I'll see you soon.